Welcome back to the Old Bull and Young Calf Boston Sports Podcast. We are in our in between Christmas and New Year's Eve podcast episode. We did get a late Christmas present, which is a major deal, and it is, of course, the start of the headline, and it's what everybody's talking about, and that is the Patriots and the Colts finding a way to lose to a horrible Giants team. Drew Lock looked like Tom Brady out there at the end. My dad had the conspiracies out, and now I think he's hoping the Patriots can adopt some of those conspiracies. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about um, the basketball, right? The Celtics at this point are, kind of. Are they in cruise control? Are they struggling? What's going on? 5-5 in the last 10. So we're going to touch on that, and then the Bruins, right? The Jekyll and Hyde. It doesn't seem like they can make up their mind on what they're going to be going forward. They face the same team on back-to-back nights or within a couple days of each other, and they play like two entirely different teams on the ice. So we're going to talk about that, and and then maybe we could even touch on the Red Sox. We'll see how much time we put into the other things because there was a couple players that came off the board, and it's a kind of a bummer that the Red Sox did not make a bigger move on it. So that's the introduction. Those are things we're going to touch on today. We got two people watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, you can chime in with some of your thoughts and comments on this. We'll definitely touch on that. So, Dad, big news: the Giants lost. The Patriots are in sole possession of the first overall pick. Now, since Tom Brady left, Dad, where would you rank this next game in importance in the Patriots franchise going forward?
Well, I would say it's the most important game they've had, with the exception of the Mac Jones playoff game. I mean, that's obvious, but here's the golden opportunity, and this is where Kraft, if he has half a brain, is saying, "Hey, Gerard, this week, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hey, if the team's not at their best, what are you gonna do? Let's go into the offseason." So, I mean, it's at Foxborough. If I have to see Gerard Mayo at the end of this game smiling, high fiving people, and we lose that number one pick, holy cow. Kraft has, I mean, he's not that old and senile. He understands the gravity of the situation. He has to understand it. He has to understand, and Matt, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking, but
No, no,
he
talk
has
to
to
the wife. Keep
understand
going.
how important this pick is. I mean, you're talking, we saw what happened last year, right? With Jaden Daniels, projected middle round pick. Then the season ended. Then all the scouts started watching game film. Then all of a sudden, Jalen Daniels skyrockets up the charts, and everybody wanted him. Rumors of people trying to, you know, trade up to get him. The Patriots need that. They get the first overall pick, and then one of these top two quarterbacks. All it takes is a few teams to fall in love with him,
Yep.
and they want that guy. They need that guy, and you will get a boatload for this pick. You trade back just a few spots, enough where one of those three elite left tackles will be there. You just don't want to lose out on one of those, and you're in great shape. And then you're good to go, and then you fire everybody and you start over.
Yeah. Now, so I think some of that is a bit of dreamboatism, from my dad, but I do agree. So of course, playoff games are incredibly important. Since Tom Brady left, that winning that with Mac Jones would have been great. Would have been great for him to not suck, but of course, that is what it is. Since then, this is the game, right? This is could be a franchise defining moment next Sunday for the next 5 plus years, right? We saw what the Detroit Lions, have done with the boatloads of draft picks they got from the Rams when they traded Stafford. We saw what the Chicago Bears. I know they've sucked. I don't know why they've sucked. I haven't been watching them, but they are loaded with talent, right? Their offensive line, I think, is not doing great. Caleb Williams, I think, is scary. Like, might be a bust. Might be a little bit of a head case, but they managed to trade their pick which ended up being Bryce Young, for DJ Moore, who is a number one wide receiver. He is a top 10 wide receiver in this league. DJ Moore is the real deal. The I think a couple picks after where they were at, I forget where they ended up picking that draft, but they didn't trade too far down. Carolina was pretty low, and then they got the first round pick next year. I'm sorry, the first Carolina's first overall pick next year, which was another big play. So we have a position to set ourselves up pretty nicely here. A loss on Sunday would do wonders. And I mean, talk about having fun talking about it, Dad. I mean, how exciting would it be to know that there's nobody in front of us? We're not waiting in line. There's so many possibilities that we can discuss on this podcast, that fans can discuss from a publicity standpoint for Kraft. I think it's one of the best things that can happen to the franchise. I mean, they're talking, and of course, you got to take this with a gallon of salt. But Gerard Mayo came out and said that uh, keeping Drake May out Sunday is on the table for injury concerns. That would be the best coaching decision he has made all NFL season. But I don't see him doing that. Again, we're dealing with a coach who overshares, lies, misrepresents what he's going to do. I don't know if you heard them come out and say that Ramondre Stevenson was gonna come out second to Antonio Gibson to kind of send a message about accountability last game. And then who was in the backfield on the first snap? The commentators were so confused, right? Because they meet with the coaches, they talk about this. It's just the profound, inept coaching, the talking out of both sides of their mouth. And I hope everybody in Foxborough is aware that a win on Sunday is devastating because it makes things a lot more boring, especially in the draft perspective. So, Dad, you get that number one pick. What is the lowest you would go on the draft board? I know the Raiders, have won 2 games now. They've slid pretty far back. What numbers in your head are you going to?
Man, I think this should be saved kind of for the future when we're gonna have a lot of
Yeah, well,
draft
listen,
shows.
we
You know
can
what I
change our
mean?
mind. We can change
I
our mind. I'm
know,
just
I know.
curious.
I got other points that I want to get to, but I mean, I don't want to trade further down that's not going to get us that elite left tackle. It's as
Ah,
simple as that.
okay.
It's as lazy. I know it's not like exciting. It's not a hot take. It's a very simple. Just don't lose one of those 3 left tackles. That's all I care about, really. And you know,
Well, what take do you got? What are you trying to touch on here? All right, let's keep it. What do you got? What in particular?
I mean, oh God, now I forgot what I was going to
Now
say.
you're
Freaking
blanking.
old
Yep.
people.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you this though. One point I did want to get across is, Boston fans, we like to pound our chest that we're the best fans in the world. You know what? We might be the best fans in the world, but we're not the smartest sometimes. Look at the idiots who put up with what the Red Sox have done for the last like 6 years, showing up to games. Like I get, they're starting to have trouble selling out now, but it's like it took 6 years of the Red Sox not spending for you to do that.
Yep.
If the Patriots, if you want to make a statement, nobody should show up to that game. Absolutely no one should show up Sunday. It should be nothing but Bills fans in there. Don't even sell your tickets. Make that stadium as empty as possible. Do not renew your season tickets. Do not make a statement that we want real change, Kraft. You have to actually make big boy decisions and hurt some feelings. Okay. You have to get rid of all of them. They all need to go. And I think that I'm starting to get on board with, I mean, no one's getting on board with this, but I'm starting to come around to he is going to fire Mayo. Matt, where'd you go? Now I can't see you.
I'm here. Don't worry about it. Keep
I
going.
don't
You
know
you
why you're
think he's
not on your
actually?
computer.
No, don't worry about it. It's
You're
messing
giving
with
me a
you.
hard
Keep
time
going.
about being late.
You think that all the smoke about him getting rid of Mayo or not getting rid of Mayo might not be true. You think there's an actual chance Mayo's out of here?
Yeah, I actually do. I'm going against the grain. And, Kraft, what do you expect Kraft to say? Of course, he's going to say all the right things. He knows that if he even tells one person, yeah, he's probably gone, it's going to leak. It's going to leak. And it would turn what is been a disastrous season into a real nightmare. Because now you have players and you have Mayo answering questions about, well, you're playing for a lame duck coach and all. It's gotten so bad. I cannot fathom them not getting rid of him. And I don't think
Yeah.
it's a coincidence that Vrabel has floated out there he'd be interested in the Patriots job. I mean,
Oh, it keeps coming up.
don't think for a
Vrabel,
second
it's all
someone
over
in
the news.
someone in the Patriots organization didn't ask him that. I I don't think Vrabel floated that out there on his own. I think someone from the organization said, "Would you be interested if it was open? Maybe not
I mean,
Kraft." And Vrabel was like, "Huh? Is someone trying to tell me something here?" Because that's how communication works in the NFL when you don't want anyone knowing. And
no,
and
I real quick, that's been everywhere. Like I've seen 4 or 5 reliable every Sunday Patriot reporters coming out and bringing up Vrabel, right? Vrabel will take the job with all the warts, with all the, the downsides. Mayo needs to go. We got our first comment, John Lapierre. Mayo needs to go, but no shot they don't bring him back for one more. Again, John, Jonathan, I completely agree. I don't see there's any way that Kraft is going to let Mayo walk and pay his salary elsewhere. Pete Peter DePadua, he's a big viewer on this podcast, big commentator. He knows Kraft does not like dead money. He does not like wasting money. So even though it is the obvious choice, I think there's too much pride in it for Kraft, and I think there's too much financially in it for Kraft because I feel like he would that money, paying that dead money to Mayo would just way too much on him, which of course should be then sell the team, right? If you can't handle it, if you're going to continue to have the lowest cash spending out of any team in the NFL since I think it was like 2013. I'd have to find the exact year, but it was somewhere in the teens. Then you just got to sell the team if you can't handle it, especially since the fans, my dad, my dad buying all those $300 Mac Jones jerseys. We're putting the money in the pocket to make this team one of the most valued franchises in the NFL, and we're not getting any other benefits. We're not seeing the spending benefits from our owner. So I completely agree. So in that same comment, Dad, right? That there is another team in the NFL that had a very similar. I think we were kind of going down the same path together, and we deviated. And that team is now going to the playoffs, and that's the Washington Commanders. They had a big comeback last night. You talked about Jaden Daniels. We didn't get Jaden Daniels. We initially wanted Jaden Daniels. We're not disappointed about
Chargers
it.
too. The Chargers too.
The
It's
charge
doable in the NFL.
The Chargers are tough because the Chargers have a legit quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Justin Herbert's the man, and I respect that. I think he has like 2 interceptions all year. But this Commanders team, I mean, can we just talk about all the ways we were on the same path and we just did something completely different, right?
Well,
From the
yeah.
coaching perspective, front office, it's been really painful to watch what the Commanders have been able to do while we're sitting over here with these recycled goods, these in-house, hand-me-downs.
It's we did absolutely we didn't take a different path. We went in the complete opposite direction. And John, Mayo, I'm giving it like a 50-50 chance. Most people are giving it like a 99% chance Mayo's back. I give it a legit 50-50 chance. Mayo's been so damn bad. I can make a case that he's almost doing it on purpose so he can get fired and just get paid. Like almost like he's like, I didn't know what I was signing up for. This is terrible. I'm not happy. That's how bad he's been. It's almost like he's like blowing his own coaching job to get fired and be like, hey, you know what? I'll just get paid for the next 3 or 4 years, however long he's under there.
What do I always
He's
say? What's
been
the best
that
job in
bad.
the world? A
Oh,
fired professional sports
yeah.
coach is the best job in the world. They'll hire you and bring you on to freaking Fox Sports Network and crap. He looks completely lost. Jonathan, I don't know if you've gone to any games. I would be very curious. Any fans who've gone to games, is Mayo ever talking to the players? I have not seen Gerard Mayo talk to a single player on any of these sideline cams once. Every time they pan to him, he's on the sideline staring at the field. He's playing with his headset, touches microphone. I have not seen him add value on camera. And if somebody has gone to a game and noticed that, I would greatly appreciate hearing that. What do you got,
All
Dad?
right. So as far as Washington goes, it's pretty simple. They had a ton of cap space. They spent it to enhance the team around Jaden Daniels. We did not even come close to doing that. So that's the first thing they did. They hired a coach with NFL experience. You can make a case that he's not a great coach. He did have the biggest choke in Super Bowl history against us. So, but hey, usually coaches are better the second time around. So they brought in a guy who got a team to the Super Bowl, really should have beat, our Patriots and Tom Brady. And he did. He choked it away, he gagged it away. But Still, he got there. This is his second go around. He's learning from his first time. And so they did absolutely, and they drafted well. They did absolutely everything the opposite of what we did. So it's a simple, that's why Washington's there. That's why we're not. And I don't know. I think it's impossible for Kraft not to hear all the rumblings and not to be aggravated with this season. I just think he's putting on a good face, saying all the right things because he does like Mayo. We all like Mayo. He's a great guy. He was a great player, solid dude. Nobody wants to see him go through this. Kraft loves the guy. I think he's just doing everything he can to make sure we get to the end of the season and he's just going to go, Gerard, I'm sorry. Sorry, it just didn't work. We'll see. He has to spend money, man. He's going to spend money this year. There's no way he can get away with what he did last year. Absolutely no way he can get away with it. It's impossible for him to.
So okay, so my dad was John. I don't know if I missed it, but what would you guys do with the number one pick, considering we need an offensive lineman? So John, my dad wants to like hold off on this draft stuff, but that's what people want to talk about. Dad, they want to talk about the possibility, the light at the end of the tunnel. This number one overall pick. So what would we do with the number one pick? My dad and I would both. We would trade it down, right? And that's one of the things my dad talked about. How Jaden Daniels flew up the draft board. People started watching tape on him, watching the highlight reels, everything. We need Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward. We need Dion to do what he does best, sell his guy, and we need a team to fall in love with Shadur Sanders and trade up for him. When there's been a lot of things coming out, right? And some of them are pretty like outlandish, but talking about the Raiders trading their first round pick this year, Bowers and their first round pick next year, right? Those are the dreamboat scenarios we can kind of get on board with. The Titans are another big team. First overall, they're going to be. I'm not sorry, yeah, the Titans. They're going to be up there. I don't know if they have any skill position players we want, but John, the precedent is you trade the number one overall pick, you're getting a high skill position player. You're getting a high first round pick that year, and then you're getting the first round pick the following year, right? So that's what my dad and I want. My dad and I think, are on a slightly different boat here. I think we could go as low as 5 or 6 because I believe the first, 3 picks are going to be Cam Ward, Sanders, Travis Hunter, right? And everyone's falling in love with Travis Hunter. Deion Sanders has done a great job. I don't want Travis Hunter. He's not even the best wide receiver in the draft. I don't even know if he's going to play wide receivers. He might just come like we have to figure out because he's not going to play both, and that's just a fact. People are talking about the kid, Tech McMillan. He put up like a couple almost 300-yard receiving games this year. Big body wide receiver. People say he's like a Mike Evans twin. That's something that's super exciting. And then the nightmare scenario for my dad, people are talking about Abdul Carter. He's like everyone, he's coming from Penn State. He's like Micah Parsons reincarnate, and people want him. So those are all things on the board. But
So
go ahead.
if
What do you got?
we're going to talk draft, just remember, I get the right to take it back after I actually do some film review,
Yes.
reading all this.
Correct.
Early indication is I don't want Hunter, simply because he is in my eyes, from what I've read, he's a future number one corner, which is great, but he's maybe a 2 or 3 wide receiver. I don't want to do our first overall pick on a guy like that. I just don't want that.
One second, Dad. I want to say this one thing. John, if you're listening, write what you will do so we can talk about it, or what you would do. So, Dad, keep going. You don't want Hunter. You would not use the first overall pick on him.
People are like, well, you can play him both ways. No, you can't. No, you can't.
No.
In the NFL, nobody can play both sides of the ball. The sport is too grueling. Their league is too grueling. And don't tell me that guy's not going to be plagued with injuries if he's playing almost every single snap. Nope. He's a better corner than he is a wide receiver. Super talented guy. Would love to have him, just not with the first overall pick. Don't want that guy. Absolutely not. So, get us, John, it's all about the offensive line. Protecting that kid next year. Drop a bag of dough on T. Higgins' doorstep. We're going to get into
touchdowns last week.
We're going to get into a lot of talk with T. Higgins too. But we have to hope that they don't screw this up, that they make it to this game and they just do the right thing and they lose. I don't care what they're going to do. I don't care what secret shenanigans they have to do to throw this game. I don't care if it almost borders on them getting investigated. They need to make sure they lose
Yeah.
this damn game. As long they just can't be stupid enough where they have to forfeit the pick. Like,
I
don't
mean,
do that.
so just like from a longevity standpoint, and real quick, so Jonathan, trade assets 100%. I'm big on getting a real O-line. Jonathan, I don't know if you watched the Chargers game, but the time that what's it called? The quarterback for the Chargers. I'm blanking. What's his name?
Oh, Herbert.
Herbert. The time Herbert had compared to May was outlandish, right? It was embarrassing, and I want to see what May can do with even 75% of that time, right?
Oh, it was
There was
brutal. That guy was
it
sitting there all day.
he had there was times he threw the ball away. I'm like, why did he do that? Nobody was
Yeah,
within 5 yards, right? May was running for his life, left and right. I want to get a real O line in here so bad, Jonathan. Um, what did the Chargers do last year? They got the quarterback already in Herbert. They went out and they drafted a pretty good wide receiver. I know they have that kid, and they drafted McConkey, right? The guy who is in one game doing more than Jalen Polk and Javon Baker all season.
yeah.
Lad McConkey was there. I'll have to go find the text message chats between my dad and I because I sent him a text during that chat. I want McConkey. Get McConkey. And we traded that pick. I don't know. Everyone saw the graphic, right? They they got our pick. We got a later pick for them and an earlier pick later, in which we took Javon Baker and Jalen Polk. Jalen Polk, I don't think has caught a pass all. I'm sorry, Javon Baker hasn't caught a pass all season. They took a cornerback who has 4 interceptions, and they took Lad McConkey, who is just setting records left and right. That was a ultimate salt in the wound game for me, watching Lad McConkey do that to us. Because there was honestly even more touchdowns he should have had that Herbert overthrew him on. So they went out and they got Alt last draft. Joe Alt's been pretty good for them. He was, that kind of top end tackle talent that they were looking for. I would love to get some offensive line in here, get him some time. Let's, like my dad said, throw some money at T Higgins, all this stuff. And then I wonder what kind of asset player wise we're going to get back with that first overall pick, because if you trade the first overall pick for the fifth, sixth pick, you're not going to get back just the pick this year and next year unless Wolf is, getting absolutely fleeced. You're going to get a high level talent player that doesn't fit a timeline of a team who's drafting a quarterback at the first overall position. So, that at that point, and we're going to talk about this going forward, we're going to have to look at other teams and say who fits that kind of mold, right? So those are
Oh
all
yeah.
super exciting things, and I so desperately want to lose this game. And so real quick, Dad, before you go on, longevity standpoint, concussions are no joke. Uh, I don't know how May was let back in that game. There's almost no way he didn't have a concussion. He got hit square in the side of the head. And then Gonzalez, there's no reason Gonzalez should be playing next week. He got a
No.
concussion
You're
outright.
right.
Playing him next week would be so just irresponsible from a organizational standpoint.
I don't
So
think
go
there's
ahead, Dad.
anywhere they play him. That'd be so stupid to play Gonzalez. Hopefully, they even, like you said, weasel that in. Yeah, May, he's kind of showing some symptoms. We're gonna have to put him in concussion protocol. Real quick, Matt, I want to just because it wasn't on this link, but Gregory Privaretta, never get his name right. He's one of our loyal fans. He did ask. He's gonna miss the show. He said, but he is interested to know if not Mayo, then who? And would Cliff Kingsbury be on your radar given his success with Jaden Daniels? Greg, I would just say to that, him, Ben Johnson, I would have been interested in. After what I saw this year with Mayo and an inexperienced coach, I'm out. I would rather have Vrabel in here with Josh McDaniels. As enticed I was by, Ben Johnson, and now this guy, Kingsbury, he has worked miracles with Jaden Daniels. You have to be able to coach the whole team. And Mayo has spooked me for that. I'm scared with that now. I don't know. Like, I want a guy. Vrabel has like 7 years experience. He
Yep.
made like a lot of chicken salad out of chicken crap with that. He didn't have the greatest
Yep.
rosters in
He took
Tennessee.
Ryan Tannehill to the
Ryan
playoffs.
Tannehill to the AFC Championship game. Nope. After this year, I'm too scared of guys like Ben Johnson now and Cliff Kingsbury. Give me Mike Vrabel. So, Greg, that's my answer on that.
Greg, and my answer, and we'll have to send him like a timestamp of this. My answer would be I love Vrabel. I love McDaniels. but I talked about it last week. We have to get the right GM in here and let him pick, right? I want an organization that does exactly what the, Commanders did. They went to 49ers, they said, "Hey, this assistant GM that you've had for years who's built this outstanding roster. Of course, they're decimated injuries. We're gonna hire him. We're gonna bring him in. We're gonna let him pick the coach, let him pick, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. Right now, our GM is Robert Kraft, and we need to stop that because everything is hand me downs. Robert Kraft wants to keep it in the family, and that's devastating. Who I would like is, like my dad's, I would love, Vrabel. I would love, Josh McDaniels to come back here. I'm curious, Dad, from your standpoint, do both coordinators also need to go?
Oh yeah, everyone needs to go. Everyone needs to go. They need to start over. And, they've been awful. That's
So
and the
bad,
unfortunate thing is, if they do keep Mayo, they're probably going to fire those two guys.
which would
Big
be
deal.
which would be a bad
Who?
decision, I think. I think if you're going to keep Mayo, you have to at least keep AVP.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to, because now you're bringing in a whole new system for May to learn. And if it doesn't work in year two, he's definitely getting fired then. So
Yep.
it's like you have to clean house. You have to get rid of all of them, start fresh. Those guys, no, I'm out on those coordinators. No, thank you.
Yep. All right. No, I completely agree. And I am hopeful next year will be just as exciting, as I think other years, right? Because it's been an excitement drought. We're 27 minutes in.
I just want to say, Matt, real quick, as far as a GM goes, it's it shouldn't be that hard. If there's not a guy available who has a great track record of building a roster, you take a couple teams who have in the last 3 years done a great job of drafting, signing free agents, working the waiver wire, and you take their second in charge. You steal their second in charge. That's what you do. You don't,
Yep.
you know, I mean, there
We
was
talked
so
about
much
the
evidence there
Chiefs.
not there's so much evidence there not to bring Wolf back. He was involved with all these terrible recent drafts.
And
Like
re-signings. Duggar
I'm sure
falling
he
off a
pushed.
cliff.
Yeah, I'm sure he pushed Belichick off the cliff all the time. But oh no, that was Bill's pick. That was Bill's pick. Kraft should have known better. He had a say in it. The other bum, Grow, that kid, get that bum out of here too. Nobody in this organization knows how to draft to save their life. Get somebody in here who knows what they're doing, who's proven it on another team, who has insight. Shame on Kraft. We we all we all knew. We
Yes.
were calling it, like we were so nervous about Wolf. We're like, oh, this guy was part of those atrocious drafts, inability to draft a wide receiver, and here we are.
Yep.
This last draft is a complete disaster, with the exception of May. I mean, just a disaster, top to bottom.
No, I completely agree. So I think, at this point we're, 28 and a half minutes in. We can move on to the, I think, Boston Bruins. I don't, we got three people watching. We've dipped a little bit. So maybe some of our Bruins guys are getting in here or what. But in any case, Bruins, right? Swayman, 7-1-1 in his last 9 games with one shutout. I want to so badly shut up about this guy. I want to stop being down on him, right? We did have a pretty bad game against the Blue Jackets before we, smoked them, and Corpuzalo was in the net, right? I'm starting to get optimistic about this team. From a hockey standpoint, the coaching stuff I really struggle with overall. Um, I don't know who makes the call on bringing players up or not, but I was talking to my buddy Andrew about this, and in particular, misunderstanding, and I mentioned this on the podcast, of why we do not use the assets that Sweeney and Neely are signing and drafting. Why are they not trying to showcase their guys? But Lysel coming up, that brought a lot of juice to my fandom as a Bruins fan. Super excited to see that. My dad noticed it. We're checking. We're watching the box score on it. We're watching the games. We're watching highlights. This is all, I think, on the up and up. And I would love to see Patra back in here. So from your standpoint, Dad, where are you at on the excitement level for the Bruins? Have they turned it around anyway for you, or are you just lukewarm, room temperature?
I mean, they were going to give me a reason to get excited. They bring up Lysol, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And the kid has a good game. They didn't give him a ton of minutes, but he had a good game. He was a +1. He didn't look out of place, had some opportunities, and
Yeah, some
again, he
power
shot the
play
goal.
time.
What's that?
Some power play time. They gave him like a minute on the power play.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of excited by that. And what do? They send him right back.
They sent him back
Like, are you
down.
effing kidding me? Like, are you kidding me right now?
I didn't miss that news.
Oh, yeah, no, he's back already. Absolutely back. It's disgusting. I can't take that team. It just drives me nuts. I mean, again, no trades. Still another week gone by. No trades. No shakeup. Sacco's still here. We're still up and down. Swayman has looked a little better. I'm going to keep. I'm not worried about the defense or Swayman. I've been saying that all year. I feel like by the end of the year, they're going to be really good. So I don't sweat that. But again, nothing has been done to help their scoring, to help their offense. No new coaches come in to help boost this offense. No trades have been made to try to get some new blood in here. No kids brought up. Patra's still rotting in Providence, putting up big numbers, by the way. And here we are. So we're going to get to the playoffs, and Swayman will be good. The defense will be good, and we're not going to score enough goals. And we'll be out in the first or second round. Awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, and I think there was a definite like we've padded how many games we have an advantage over other people, games played, right? So a lot of the playoff position is kind of smoke and mirrors because we need other teams that are super close to us to drop games as they even up with us. So it's good that we're winning, but some of that's a facade because we aren't actually that much ahead in points because other teams are back 3 games in some cases, but only a point or two behind. So the other thing that stands out is our point differential, right? We're up there in games played. I think we're at like 101 goals in the season. Everybody else around us is over 120 to 140 goals scored. So this team, when they lose big, right? When they win, they seem to win, well. It just doesn't. I don't know where the lack of consistency is, but it makes it really hard to be super confident in this team. Um, from your standpoint, Dad, in a finishing in the way of finishing the season, right? In the way of how they end the 2024 to 2025 year, what would you consider a success uh, when it comes to their playoff run if they get there?
I gave the Bruins a pass when they lost Krejci and Bergeron. I said they lose their 2 top centers. I mean, what are you going to do? What team can really bounce back and win the cup the next year after losing their 2 top centers, unless you somehow can pull a top center out of free agency, which they weren't able to do last year. So I gave them a pass for that year. I was happy with them signing Lindholm, but they did nothing else. The Zadorov has been a disaster so far. A little bit better lately, but for the most part, that's been a bad free agent signing. And here we are again, typical Bruins. Like, yeah, I guess I'm happy with a second round exit.
Nice, look
I
at you.
I
Yeah,
don't want to be that anymore.
yeah.
I want to go for cups, and we're not gonna get a cup with Sweeney and Neely in charge. It's just that simple. They don't know what they're doing. You know, they had some good picks over the years, but mostly bad. Most of them have been terrible, and you know, it's just not going to work. It's just not. And here we are again. Can anyone actually be really excited about the Bruins if the playoffs started today? No way. We're going to
No.
watch. It's the playoffs, but it's like, oh, great. Here we go. Oh, they lost in 5 games. They lost in 6 games. And that's not going to change because the same problem they've had forever. Here comes a broken record old bull. It's just they've done nothing to fix their scoring. And this is how stupid this organization is, right? Do you know that Merkelov and Lysel, they both are on opposite wings. Merkelov's a left wing, Lysel's a right wing. Patrick's a center. If you're going to have those three in Providence, shouldn't you be playing them on a line constantly so they can build chemistry? Play them constantly on the same line, power play, and then at some point, call them up and like let them be the third line and see what it looks like. So, you have to get creative because what you're doing is not working offensively. Okay? We have these games where, oh, look, the Bruins scored 4 goals. That's pretty good. Yeah, go back and look at the goals. They're like the grinding, rebounds, lucky. They don't look like those other teams that could actually score. Tic-tac-toe passing, like all that good stuff, like
Yep.
We don't look like that. We never do, and we don't ever do anything to change it. You can't win in today's NHL like that. Those days are long gone. Just like winning a Super Bowl is, used to be with defense and a running game and a decent quarterback. Those days are gone, and the Bruins just will never realize it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Dallas Stars last year. The Dallas Stars were supposed to be one of the best defensive teams in quite some time, and they lost. They got sent home. Everyone was super excited about them. Then they went home, and Edmonton took their place right in the Stanley Cup Finals. So from the Bruins standpoint, it's tough. I think the Jacobs in particular. I know that you have a lot more bad blood with them than I have, but the uh, profound complacency I think that the Bruins organization has in these first round, second round exits financially is exactly what they're looking for. I've never gotten the impression from the organization that they were incredibly serious about going for the cup. Right? It's just kind of more about steady relevance, and it seems like what Neely and Sweeney are doing now is this stagnate, get to the first round every year, sell seats, sell out, sell your $350 with fees balcony seats, and call it a day. Again, we are in the dog days of the NHL season. It's a long, long season, and this team can get hot at the end. But I think in recent memory, the last time they went big at the trade deadline, which I gotta respect, they did make a lot of moves there. I don't know if they're still nursing a burnt hand there because they then pooped their pants in the first round, but I don't know. You talked about the chance of them, Patriots getting rid of Mayo. What do you think the chances are of them actually being competitive buyers at the trade deadline?
I mean, they're barren of draft picks from all the trades they made. They don't have many draft picks left. You know, God, what was I going to say? It just,
I mean, from like it's just like for now, right? The percentage, right? You mentioned 50-50 chance they keep Mayo. Are you Do you have any confidence in this front office to go out and pull the trigger and make trades, or are you pessimistic about it?
no, I mean, they don't have, they have like less than $1 million in cap space. So they can make trades. They got players they can trade. So they can't upgrade. They can only do like a 20 goal scorer for another 20 goal scorer. That's what they can do. They can't add. We're going to have to give something up on the roster to get something back. And,
Yes.
The point I want to get back to real quick, Peter and I actually had like a little text message argument over this because he's like, oh, well, Jacobs really isn't cheap anymore. He spent to the cap. Well, first of all, the cap's not that high in the NHL. Okay. You spend to the cap and you make the playoffs, you're going to make a boatload of profit at the end of the year. Where I feel like Jeremy Jacobs is being cheap is Neely and Sweeney are under contract. No one knows how long, right? It's probably 3 years, probably 4 years. That's where I feel like he's cheap. Like, fire those guys, let them pay their salaries, and get a change in here. And I don't think Jacobs wants to spend the money for that because, like you said, Matt, as long as the Bruins fill that arena, make the playoffs, get knocked out in the first and second round. Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Cash money for Jacobs. Happy. He doesn't give a crap if we don't win the cup. I mean, I guess, if he had his way, yeah, it's even more money for him. Bruins win the cup. But he is fine with these second round exits. And you know what? Neely and Sweeney, you're almost guaranteed to get him those. Instead
Yep.
of taking a risk, spending more money, dumping the money on Sweeney, and here's your paycheck. Sorry, I wasted millions on you guys. I have to pay for these new guys, and then take the chance that the new guys are going to elevate them. When, business owners, business people, they're like, well, there's also the chance they could miss the playoffs with the new regime we bring in. So it's not really worth the risk. Let's be safe and keep Neely and Sweeney here.
Yes, correct, right? It's playing not to lose in the first round, not playing to win, right?
Yeah.
And they did try and play to win a couple years ago, and when they went all in at the trade deadline, but the coaching staff, the leadership within the team, the heart of the team, of course, wasn't there, and they got punched in the mouth by that Florida Panthers team. That was embarrassing. Oh man,
Yeah.
I remember driving home and hearing 98.5. They're talking about how this Bruins team, whereas I think they were up 2-1 or 3-1 at the time. They're a wagon, they're this, they're that, and now they're bringing back Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah.
They're not even at their full power yet, and then we just crapped our pants. So
Oh,
I mean, at this point, we're in the middle of the hockey season. We're in the middle of the basketball season. I don't know how much more you want to talk about the Bruins, Dad. Here, but we could probably move on.
yeah. Let's move on to the Celtics.
All right, Boston Celtics. Not too much to talk about here again. Like
No, there
this
is.
team. I
There
mean,
is.
yes. So this team can flip a switch, whether you like it, whether you think it, you don't like the switch, you think the switch exists or not, it exists, and this team can do it, right?
Mhm.
And their coach can flip a switch. Their coach knows when it's time to buckle up and say, okay, time to stop playing around with lineups, time to stop trying to get too fancy, and let's win this game. I don't think Joe Mazzulla plays every game to win. To win, I think he plays every game to get better, and he plays the long game. And I think it's the exact opposite of Gerard Mayo. It's the exact opposite of the Bruins, where Missoula's not running certain guys into the ground, running certain lineups into the ground ad nauseum. He's making game plans and he's taking approaches to games that you may never have seen as a Celtics fan, right? Even though there's this 15, 16 guys on the roster, you've never seen this group of guys play together. But Missoula does it because he doesn't know, what the future is. He doesn't know if these guys are going to have to play together again. And I love I love what he's doing. It's super encouraging to me, and his approach to the games, even though we're losing games, I don't mind. People are complaining about the three ball. I love it. Take 53s. Even if you're getting everything in the paint, take 53s because you're going to make the playoffs and you are the road killers. So if you make the playoffs, second, third seed, that's fine. You make the playoffs healthy as long as you shooting threes and not going to the hoop, not dunking on people, that's fine. But as long as you handle your business in the playoffs like you did last year, I'm okay. I am so I probably should have started this off, Dad, but I feel like with the Celtics, we have to talk about like a panic meter, right? Where are we at with the panic meter? And I'll say right now I'm at a 0 with the Boston Celtics in the panic meter. I think it really. I don't want to steal any thunder for you here, but I don't. And if you're going to bring this up, I'm sorry, but you're getting almost exactly what you wanted with Kristaps Porzingis with these little ticky-tacky
Hmm.
injuries, right? This is what you were hoping for, nothing major, something small, something that'll keep him rested. We are resting players left and right. We've almost never had the full lineup in. So my panic meter's at a 0 with this team, even though they are 5-5 in their last 10 games. Where are you at,
My
Dad?
only
And what do you got on it?
uh, my only criticism of Missoula is he's not sitting more players. I love that. I love that players are missing games with these mysterious injuries. That's what you need to do.
Sore big toe.
He's he's in a position with a loaded roster to do that. I'm so glad they didn't get off to like some 17-1 start where they had like this grand idea of chasing some record. I'm glad. No, thank you. I don't want anything to do with that. I will say this about Porzingis, and yes, I want that guy for the playoffs. Can someone say to him, listen, Kristaps, it's simple. Stick with shooting your 3-pointers or getting in the post. Stop trying to drive to the hoop. Has anyone noticed he's getting these little ankle things every time he tries to drive to the hoop? Yeah, that's great that you can do it, that you're 7'3" and a freak. You could actually blow past some people. Stop doing it. This is how every time you tweak your ankle, you're trying to go by somebody. Stop doing that. Either take the three or get your butt in the post, let someone lob it into you, turn around and shoot it. Stop trying to drive to the hoop. You're not Jaylen Brown. You don't need to be Jaylen Brown.
We have
Stop
Jaylen
doing that.
Brown. Yeah, we have Jaylen Brown. You don't have to be
Yeah, we
Jaylen
don't
Brown.
need you to be. And my concern meter is about a 1,
Wow.
and 1 out of 10, I would say. And really, it's only because, boy, we're starting to learn how important Drew Holiday is on defense. And don't get me wrong, I'm not blind. I've been saying, like, Drew Holiday has not been good from 3 this year. He's been turnover prone lately, which is a little weird. I just, at least, I'm hoping it's a slump. He's not that old yet. He's on the older side. It has to be a slump. He's got a half a season to shake out of this slump. He was literally the best corner 3-point shooter in the league last year. He's been terrible this year. I'm taking it as it's a slump. He's going to break out of it. But, man, we are starting to see just how important he is to the defense, because the defense does not look the same without him, that's for sure. So, but otherwise, I guess, I'm at a 1 just because Porzingis is having trouble staying healthy, and I haven't seen Drew Holiday snap out of his 3-point funk yet, which I do need to see.
Yeah, and we're not even at the All-Star break, guys. This is crazy, right? I don't even know where we go from, like, an asset standpoint. They're talking about the buyout market and different things, as that approaches. I don't even
We
think we
don't
can get
really
any.
know
We like there was something in particular that they were talking about Brad Stevens would be on the lookout for, but I would just love to see more Tillman minutes. I do love this. I do love how many minutes Pritchard's been getting. Pritchard's just shown himself to be such a gamer, and I love the way he's gelling with Jaylen Brown. He did have a bit of a rough defensive game a couple of games ago, some missed assignments, and I think people were blaming like Derek White for it, but the rotations just weren't there from Pritchard. But I'm glad he's getting the minutes. It's not something that he was able to do under Udoka. I give kudos to Missoula for, I don't know if he technically is admitting he was wrong or what, but I give credit to Udoka for Missoula for changing his approach with Peyton Pritchard, right? I think most coaches would let their pride get to them when someone basically requests a trade. But instead, Missoula said, "Fine, you want to play, then play and play well." And Pritchard has been that and more, right? He's a big reason I think why we won the championship last year. So Pritchard getting the minutes he's getting, Jaylen Brown, getting a ton of publicity right now, especially on the defensive end. Uh, this team really does know how to turn it on late in the game, get serious, have play some pretty solid defense, especially Jaylen Brown. Um, Overall, I'm enjoying watching them play. Even when we lose, as long as we get out unscathed, I'm super happy. It did suck to see Porzingis go down, but it is great to see whenever somebody beats us, man, do they get a ton of media coverage. The 76ers beating us was like their Super Bowl. Uh,
because this should all fire. This should fire up the Celtics, Missoula, all that stuff. This is the first year I could ever remember where I don't want the Celtics involved in the buyout market. I don't think we need it. I
no,
like what they have on the bench. I just don't normally. Every year I'm always like, oh, who can we bring in? Who can we bring in? Not anymore. I don't need it. I love this team the way it is. They do have that switch. They've proven they have that switch. Again, it's human nature. It's just human nature. They won the championship last year. They've shown you what they can do when they have their full team and they actually try this year. It's almost always a 30-point blowout. You can almost see how lackadaisical they are at times. And then they kind of, there's times when they're losing, and then they show you at the end of the game, all right, let's play some defense, and they get back in the game. Or they seal the game, and they were winning it, it was close, and they just locked the other team down, and they win. It's just what do you want? They're human. They're fine. No catastrophic injuries, knock on wood. That's what it's all about. So I give them a pass for these losses. Like we've always called them, the road killers. They're awesome on the. No team is as good as this Celtics team on the road in the playoffs. I challenge. We looked it up last year. I think there was one team that could compete with them. I think it was one of the Bulls teams that was close to the Celtics road record in the last like 3 years, and that's about it. I'm not worried about that. In the buyout market, I mean, I guess if you find a significant upgrade over one of our bench players, okay, but it's not a concern for me. And usually it's something I do watch for and do hope for.
Yeah, and I again the second apron and everything like that. And I think one of the little nugget I've read about was how Wojnarowski, I think, got out at the right time of his job because the NBA is going to cool down so much more from a breaking news standpoint because of this apron. There's really not many moves to be made, and you saw the Lakers just recently trade for Dorian Finney-Smith. They traded away D'Angelo Russell and a couple guys. And it's like, is does Dorian Finney-Smith really move the needle for these teams? No. Is there somebody the Celtics can bring in from other teams? I really can't think of anybody. People have talked about Torrey Craig from the Bulls, kind of a big body, hits threes at a decent clip. He's kind of getting a bunch of DNPs. I don't know why he's getting a bunch of DNPs, but I mean, look at Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker was the man in our eyes. He put up big numbers for us in the preseason, and then they just were like, "We're just too deep, Lonnie. There's nothing we can do here." So I'm really curious about, if they make any move. If they do, there's a great chance we won't see any of those guys. I mean, Svi Mihailuk, he bounced and he's been a relatively solid contributor for the Jazz. And prior to coming here, he was a solid contributor, I think, for the Hornets. And it's like these so many guys. There's players starting for teams that wouldn't even break the top 8 for the Boston Celtics because we were just so loaded.
Yeah. It's not a concern of mine this year.
No
My concerns are all about load management and not
health.
getting any significant injuries. That doesn't happen, we're fine. Nobody's beating us. Nobody's beating us if Porzingis can make it through a playoff and we're healthy. It's just not going to happen. The road may not be as easier. We might not go 16-3, but it's just not. There's no way with our full team on the court trying hard for 48 minutes that we're losing 4 out of 7 games to anybody. It's not happening. Not Cleveland, not the Nuggets, not anybody.
No. I mean,
So
if you've
that's what
watched
it's
the
all about.
Nuggets, they have taken a major step back in a lot of different facets. Jokic is still special. Jokic is
Oh, yeah.
otherworldly. All life, like all lifetime of the NBA player. I think there's going to be great, really good cause to say that he's one of the top 5 players to ever play the game when he's done with it because of how special he is. But Jamal Murray has taken a major step back. That guy is not even close to what he used to be. They got rid of KCP, and KCP, Contarius Caldwell Pope, he's one of the big reasons why the Magic are, such a great defensive team right now. They got rid of him because they didn't want to pay the money. Aaron Gordon's injured right now. They're relying on, the Christian Braun kid who's pretty young, and they don't have the depth that we have. Nobody has the depth that we have. And really some of our depth pieces are underperforming. Hauser has been underperforming from
He's
the
been
from the
terrible
3.
lately.
Yeah.
House has been
So
awful lately. Yeah.
so these are all things that you anticipate getting better, and if they get better, it's just again such a wagon. So I'm not super concerned. 54 minutes, Dad. Anything? And do you want to keep talking about the Celtics? You got anything else you want to touch on with them?
No, I mean the Red Sox had one decent signing, but again, still nothing big, nothing worth
They missed out on
noting.
Hernandez, the Toscaro
Yeah,
Hernandez, and word came out. Were they even
pretty
close? And
reasonable salary too,
yeah,
like 22 million a year. That's nothing in baseball.
yeah. So, and the other thing I'll bring up, going back to the Patriots, somebody did, and I have to confirm this math. So big, asterisk here. The Patriots are locked in to the at least the number 4 pick. I don't know if you're aware of that, Dad, but the lowest we can
Yeah,
go
that
is
only
number 4.
happens if Detroit wins tonight. They can't go any further than 4.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's a reassuring. Of course, we want number one. We're gonna see on Sunday what ends up happening. Uh, but I haven't eaten dinner. It was a good podcast. I hope everybody has a great new year, and we're gonna have so many fun things to talk about, at least from the Patriots perspective, coming up next week at a minimum. And
As
then
long
we'll
as
be
they don't
back to
crush our dreams
yeah, it'll
and
still be
win.
fun to talk about how
Oh,
crushed we'll
I'm
be.
telling you, man, if I have to watch Mayo pumping his fist, smiling,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I might put a foot through my 70-inch TV. I will not be able to stomach that. Like you did something good. Like
yeah.
holy cow. So
And I
we'll
mean,
see.
even from Drake May's standpoint, he should be thinking the same thing. Drake, I don't care what you're doing, Drake. You got to be self-aware that this is your team, and for the longevity of the team, you got to
Yeah.
lose this game, buddy.
Start chucking the ball into the dirt, kid.
You have
Start
to lose
chucking it
this
into the
game.
dirt.
You got to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, that's the thing. Whenever it's hard to tank in the NFL because these players, are all like
Sure.
the careers are so short. But if
Yeah.
you're the quarterback and you just got, it's your first year, come on, Drake, make it happen. So
Yeah.
a lot to talk about. I hope everybody has a good rest of, good New Year's. And that's all I got, Dad.
See you in 2025. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It helps us and view it and comment in there as well. We always respond even after the show. So
Yeah. Tell
thank
us we
you,
suck in
everyone.
YouTube. It sounds good. I don't care. Whatever you need to do, just comment on the video.
Absolutely. And have a great new year, everyone.